Have you ever imagined that spending your last few dollars on a complete stranger could cost you your job, yet secretly open the biggest door of your life? Stay until the end, because today's story proves that real wealth isn't measured by what you keep, it's measured by what you're willing to give away. And the final twist will leave you speechless. Rain hammered the streets as 24-year-old Emily Carter finished another exhausting shift at Green Valley Market. She had only $4 left in her pocket, barely enough for bread and medicine for her sick father waiting at home. Every cent mattered. As she swept the entrance before leaving, loud voices erupted from the checkout lanes. An elderly woman stood trembling before an impatient cashier. Her card had failed, and she realized her wallet was missing. Customers sighed in frustration, while whispers of, "She's wasting everyone's time," echoed through the store. The embarrassed woman tried explaining, but the manager ordered security to escort her outside. Emily froze. She knew that helpless look because life had shown it to her many times. Without thinking twice, she reached into her pocket, placed her last $4 on the counter, and quietly said, "Please let her take the bread. I'll pay." In that single moment, everyone stared, but none of them knew this simple act of kindness had just changed two lives forever. The elderly woman looked at Emily with tearful eyes, trying to refuse the money, but Emily simply smiled and whispered, "One day, if you see someone else struggling, help them instead." The woman slowly nodded, picked up the bread, and walked away with quiet dignity. Emily believed the moment was over, but the store manager had been watching everything. The next morning, she was called into his office. Without allowing her to explain, he slammed a disciplinary notice onto the desk. "You embarrassed this store by interfering with company policy. Employees don't pay for customers. You're terminated, effective immediately." Emily felt her world collapse. She begged him to reconsider, explaining that her father depended on her income for medicine, but the manager remained cold. Holding back tears, she packed her small locker and left through the back door, wondering how she would face her father that evening. Unknown to Emily, the elderly woman she had helped wasn't an ordinary customer at all. Sitting inside a luxury car parked across the street, she quietly watched Emily leave the building, then turned to her assistant and said, "Find that young woman immediately. I want to know everything about her, before someone else discovers the treasure hidden inside her heart." By sunrise, Emily was searching every corner of the city for work, but rejection followed her everywhere. Employers wanted experience, references, or simply someone more qualified. With only a few coins left, she returned home empty-handed, hiding her pain behind a smile so her father wouldn't worry. Meanwhile, across town, the elderly woman finally received Emily's background report. Her name was Margaret Harrison, founder of one of the country's largest family-owned companies. She wasn't impressed by Emily's resume, but by something far rarer, her character. "Anyone can buy kindness when they're wealthy," Margaret said softly. But she gave away the only money she had. The very next morning, a black luxury car stopped outside Emily's small house. Thinking it had come to the wrong address, Emily stepped outside in surprise. Margaret walked toward her carrying a simple paper bag containing fresh bread. "Do you remember me?" she asked with a gentle smile. Emily immediately recognized the woman and apologized for what had happened at the store. Margaret shook her head. "No, my dear," she replied. "I'm here because that loaf of bread revealed something priceless. I don't want to repay your money. I want to change your future." Emily stood frozen, unable to believe the words she had just heard. Emily accepted Margaret's invitation with hesitation and arrived at Harrison Global's headquarters the following morning. Towering glass walls, polished marble floors, and hundreds of employees made her feel completely out of place. During the meeting, Margaret introduced Emily to the executive board and announced that she would enter the company's leadership development program. The room instantly filled with whispers. Some executives questioned why a recently fired grocery worker deserved such an opportunity, while highly educated candidates had been rejected. Margaret calmly stood and answered every doubt with one sentence. "Skills can be taught, but character cannot." Emily promised she would earn every bit of trust placed in her. Weeks passed, and she worked harder than anyone else, arriving before sunrise and leaving long after sunset. Her honesty, humility, and willingness to listen slowly won over most of the team. But one senior executive, Daniel Brooks, couldn't hide his jealousy. Watching Emily gain Margaret's confidence day after day, he secretly decided that if he couldn't stop her success fairly, he would make sure she failed publicly. Emily had no idea that while she was building her future with integrity, someone inside the company was already preparing to destroy everything she had worked so hard to achieve. 3 months later, Harrison Global prepared to present its biggest community development project to international investors, and Margaret surprised everyone by appointing Emily as the lead presenter. Daniel saw it as the perfect chance to ruin her reputation. The night before the presentation, he secretly altered several financial reports, hoping Emily would unknowingly present false figures and lose Margaret's trust forever. The conference hall was packed with executives, investors, and media representatives when Emily stepped onto the stage. Just moments before beginning, she noticed that the numbers on the screen didn't match the reports she had personally approved. The easiest choice would have been to continue and hope nobody noticed. Instead, Emily took a deep breath, faced the audience, and calmly said, "I cannot continue because these figures are inaccurate. I would rather lose this opportunity than earn success through dishonesty." Silence filled the room. The investors exchanged surprised glances, expecting excuses instead of honesty. Margaret watched proudly from the front row, already realizing someone had tried to sabotage Emily. At that very moment, security officers quietly entered the hall with evidence that exposed who had changed the files, and every eye slowly turned toward Daniel as his face lost all color. Security investigators displayed the surveillance footage and system logs proving Daniel had secretly accessed Emily's presentation the previous night. Unable to deny the evidence, he admitted everything, confessing that jealousy had blinded him. Instead of demanding punishment, Emily quietly asked everyone to give him a chance to explain himself. The room fell silent as Daniel broke down, ashamed of the person he had become. Margaret later dismissed him from his position but thanked Emily for proving that true leadership isn't measured by power, it's revealed through integrity and compassion. The investors were deeply moved by what they had witnessed. Their chairman stood, shook Emily's hand, and announced that Harrison Global had earned their complete confidence because honesty mattered more than flawless presentations. The billion-dollar partnership was approved on the spot. News of Emily's courage spread across television, newspapers, and social media, inspiring thousands of people. Weeks later, Margaret officially promoted Emily to Director of Community Development, saying, "You didn't build this future with money or influence. You built it with the same heart that once gave away its last $4 to protect a stranger's dignity." Emily smiled, but she knew her greatest reward was still waiting just ahead. 1 year later, Emily stood before hundreds of employees at Harrison Global's annual celebration, holding the same $4 bill Margaret had carefully framed as a reminder of where everything had begun. Looking across the audience, Emily smiled and said, "People think success changed my life, but the truth is kindness did." Thunderous applause filled the hall before Margaret walked onto the stage with one final surprise. She handed Emily the keys and legal documents to a beautiful home, completely paid for. "This isn't charity," Margaret said warmly. "It's an investment in the woman who proved that humanity is the greatest form of wealth." Tears streamed down Emily's face as she hugged her father, who whispered, "Your mother would be so proud today." Emily later created a foundation that provided scholarships and emergency support for hardworking people facing impossible situations, ensuring no one would lose hope over a single difficult day. Years later, whenever someone asked how her incredible journey began, she never mentioned promotions, awards, or money. She simply smiled and answered, "Everything started the day I gave away my last $4. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still believes kindness can change the world.